Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Richie Luntz, aka Screwball, and on this episode, myself and my co-host Joey Buchholz, aka JoBu, talk about my newest love, baseball. It's the Tampa Bay Rays episode this week, so let's play ball. Okay, first of all, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host Joey, aka JoBu. How are things, JoBu?
Hey, Richie, things are very good.
Good,
We
glad to
have
hear.
sun here in Wisconsin in about 6 days, but it's things are good.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. For those who don't know, basically the episodes are based on we do one team per week. This week, as I say, it's the Tampa Bay Rays. The preface of the show was we spun the wheel, or I spun the wheel at the beginning, and it came out with first episode Boston Red Sox, second episode Tampa Bay Rays, etc., etc., etc. It didn't come out in order of the AL East. Once we got Boston Red Sox, then we spun the wheel. That was just the AL East, and we're going to go through all the divisions anyway. So Tampa Bay Rays first inning payroll and current team rundown. First thing that strikes me is the Tampa Bay Rays have the 26th highest payroll in baseball out of 30, which is when you're coming off the back of a World Series appearance, that's some going, would you not say?
So, in kind of prepping for this piece of the show, one thing that we have to consider is that this is one of the younger teams in Major League Baseball, and a lot of the players that make up the core of this team are what they call pre-arbitration eligible. So they're in their 6-year holding window, which basically means the team controls them at a very low price until they hit season 6 when they become eligible for their first arbitration. So guys like Austin Meadows making $600,000, Willie Adames $600,000, Brandon Lowe makes $300,000, which is almost the minimum in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, how has that come to pass? I mean,
So,
looking at the payrolls, all you see is pre-arb or veteran or arb 2.
So the way it works now, and I'm sure that this is going to be something that they look at very heavily when the next collective bargaining agreement happens, which is after this season, I believe, is as soon as a player makes his debut on the major league roster, a clock basically starts, and the team controls that player for 6 years, and then there's some weird deadline where if he debuts after May 1st, I believe, then the team has a whole nother year basically of control. So all of these players that I mentioned are within those 6 years, and a lot of them are in their first like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Randy Rosarina, I didn't even know his name a year ago. He basically became a star in the postseason last year. He hit 11 home runs in last year's postseason. He's pre-arbitration available. He only makes $500,000.
And is this for every team that this is?
Yeah, this is basically the rule for the entire Major League Baseball. So,
but the thing is that the Tampa Bay Rays rely heavily on this kind of setup.
Yeah, I mean the way this is set up is that the Tampa Bay Rays are one of the 5 or 6 teams that have kind of a shorter window to win with what they have, because this team doesn't bring in the revenue that the Yankees and Red Sox have. They're 26th in payroll, and I think one of the reasons they're 26th in payroll is they're 29th in the league in attendance at home, and they're like 23rd on the road. So not only are they not bringing in fans at home, nobody's paying to see them on the road where they kind of share that type of revenue. So this is a team that they've been talking now for years about, if they bring the Expos back, maybe the Rays
would be the ones to go.
Tampa and Montreal because the revenue's not there, so that they're just not playing these players. These 6 names that I've mentioned, with the exception of Yoshi Tutsugo, who they signed as an international player, there's a good chance that none of these guys will be raised in 5 or 6 years because of the current structure, which I'm hoping as a fan changes within the next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to me. First of all, absolute respect for the Rays. I knew they had one of the lowest payrolls in baseball, but I didn't know why. And to do what they're doing, it's incredible. I've got even more respect for them than I had when I started this journey, which is kind of the reason why I wanted to do this in the first place, to understand if it was going to be the Rays who I supported or the Red Sox or whatever, that I'd have a better picture of who it was I was supporting. And I have to say, it's difficult with the Rays because they're not like, if you're a purist and you're looking for a team, I mean, look no further. What they do is it's mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not the norm, for if you go back in history, how many teams that are 26th through 30th in payroll, appeared in a World Series the prior year. It's definitely unusual, but it's great for that fan base because now going into a season, well, hey, we have a shot here. We can't afford to pay, what the Yankees and Red Sox are doing, but look who was in the World Series last year.
Yeah, I mean, to put it into perspective, the league average is the league average is 128 million on the total payroll. So that includes the 26-man payroll, the injured reserve, retained, buried salary, stuff like that. We'll get into that on another episode. Today's not the day to do that. But 128 million roughly, and they operate on 69, which, I mean, to put it into perspective, the only teams that operate on lower are the Marlins, Orioles, Pirates, and Indians, and they're all in rebuild.
Yep.
And Tampa Bay Rays are going to World Series with rebuild payroll. It's incredible. I mean, absolutely hats off to them. We touched on it before. We go on to the second inning, which is ballpark. I don't want to be unkind here, but it's difficult kind of not to. From the outside, it looks like a swimming pool. I don't know if that's the look that they were going for. The palm trees are lovely, very kind of inviting, and obviously of the area, Florida and what have you. But it looks, from the pictures I've seen, like the outside looks dirty. To be perfectly honest, the roof, they've got these baseballs on the top of the roof, and I'm only going off the pictures that are on the official website.
Yeah.
So I assume that's an everyday look of the ballpark, because you'd want to present yourself in your best light, wouldn't you, on your own website?
Mm-hmm.
It really does look like a swimming pool. It looks like what we call the baths over here, and that, I like the Ray touches, the where you can actually go and the kids can go and play with the Rays, Stingrays. That's a cool little touch. And the inside the dome, when it's lit up, looks absolutely beautiful. It looks absolutely spot on, and you can get some really nice sight lines from what I've seen based on the pictures. So I'm really trying to give it more props, and I want them to do well, and I want them to have more fans, but you can kind of see why they don't. Like, before we started this podcast, I said to you, I'd be surprised if it's going to be a Florida team, because they don't seem to be as bothered about baseball. Now, I'm not saying that individuals can't be passionate, but the the numbers and the payrolls and everything, it kind of speaks for itself. But Florida seems to struggle with baseball, and given that it's got that kind of potential, is there a reason why? Would there be anything that would stand out to you? Why people don't really take to them?
So there's two ways to approach this. Number one, the building itself was actually, they broke ground on this building in the late 80s, which was before all the kind of newer great parks like Oriole Park at Camden Yards, New Comiskey, whatever they're calling that now. This actually broke ground about 5 years before then. And what's unique about this particular building is that when they actually built it, they had no tenant at the time. They were trying to entice the Chicago White Sox or the San Francisco Giants to move to Tampa Bay before Major League expansion happened in 1993. When they were unsuccessful, they went to MLB to try to get one of the expansion teams in 93, and they were not successful with that. So for a good 5 or 6 years, they didn't even have a baseball tenant. So the stadium itself is actually one of the older ones in baseball, even though there wasn't a major league team until 1998.
Okay. Well, so they were basically, my favorite film, baseball film, Field of Dreams. They were literally like if we build it, they will come. Kind of a situation.
Yeah, exactly. The stadium was finalized in 90, but they didn't have a major league tenant for another 8 years. The other factor in why their attendance is so low, and this doesn't just speak to baseball, but the state of Florida, and I hope I'm not alienating all of our Floridian subscribers.
Can I just say he is wearing a Tampa Bay Rays hat at this time? So he is representing. He has no, ill feeling towards anyone. But like me, he has to kind of. He's actually wearing a.
I'm wearing a Macho Man Randy Savage shirt.
Yeah. So
he's not from Florida, but he was billed from Florida.
So it's basically the idea of he has to just say it like it is, like I do. So. Yeah. Go on with that in place.
The state of Florida, like Tampa Bay doesn't draw, the Marlins don't draw, and the Marlins have a brand new stadium, which is actually aesthetically pretty pleasing to the eye. The Jacksonville Jaguars don't draw. They're actually every year in the NFL, they have one, sometimes two of their games outsourced to London because they don't draw.
Yeah.
It's just a weird. Again, I don't want to offend the state at all, but like it's a different resident. There's a lot of colleges there, but there's a lot of seniors. So it's just not.
It's not a good mix in terms of the overall demographic for baseball.
Yeah, just the demographic for pro sports in general, outside of maybe the Miami Heat. Who obviously, when LeBron got there, it became, one of the most fashionable fan bases to belong to for, 3 or 4 years. They've just never drawn well in baseball. And I don't know if, having half of your spring training in one state and half in the other, if that has anything to do with it. If some people were just like, we get half of all the baseball for 6 weeks, and then perhaps by the time the major league schedule starts, they're just like,
we're sort of saturated by it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
Well, it kind of brings us nicely on to inning number 3, which is fan, city, state, and culture. You mentioned the Miami Heat. You can't really not mention the Heat and the Magic when it comes to Florida. The representation that they have in sports for an outsider looking in, the biggest is the Miami Heat for all the reasons that you've said. For maybe a couple of the older fans, the Magic, We all grew up watching sort of Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal, so there's that. The Miami Dolphins, again, more 90s. That was for Dan Marino, is kind of the be all and end all. Not to say they haven't got other players that stand out, but he sort of transcended the Atlantic, if you like. He went across and was still a big name. And obviously with the Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, we all know about Snowflake and Ray Finkel and what have you. So that's kind of sort of the legacy. But when we watch things over here based on Miami, apart from like Miami Vice and all that, it's usually documentaries about, well, obviously you've got like the film side of things, so you've got like Scarface and things like that. So it doesn't paint Florida in the greatest light. It's always Miami as well. And I'm not casting any aspersions here. I'm just telling you like it is. And the other thing that people will think of when you hear Florida over here is old people. A lot of comedy that we watch that makes it over the Atlantic, like How I Met Your Mother. They kind of touch on that as well. So I feel like over here, especially, we kind of have an idea of two extreme opposites, Miami and then the rest of Florida. So it's either everyone's out partying, taking drugs, shooting each other, or the other side, they've just gone to retire. And obviously Florida isn't like that. I mean, I know you get the Florida man thing as well, that comes over as well, but I have a friend who went to live in Florida, who went to live in where was it, Tallahassee. And obviously he said to me, that there is that kind of perception and that, but when he got down there, he met a lot of nice people, and there was a mixed demographic, both politically and in age range and things. But you don't really see that. You see extremes when you see Florida over here. And I wondered if it was kind of the same over in America. And I'm sort of guessing it will be, because most of the things that we draw on over here are the American shows that make it across the pond, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, it's Florida. Like everything you said is correct as far as the perceptions, and I don't, to be honest, I don't know exactly where the line in the sand gets blurred, but there's got to be a reason for all these teams with that lower number as far as a fan base.
I mean, the other thing is, I actually did some work for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've really struggled to say that because we say Jaguars, they say Jaguars. So I'm I always second guess myself. But I did some work for them. Fantastic organization. Hats off to all the people who it would be sort of a grandiose thing to say I worked with them. They helped me to write a story which I needed to write. They were just fantastic. The amount that they do for American football in this country is superb, and I'm delighted to see them getting the first overall pick. We all know it's going to be Trevor Lawrence, and I just wish them all the best. And hopefully that can bring that kind of LeBron James energy to Jacksonville and to Florida as a whole. And hopefully the same thing happens in baseball. I've said before, I know this is the Tampa Bay Rays episode, and they're all going to hate me, but one of the most exciting teams to watch this year for me so far has been the Miami Marlins. And if you'd have told me that at the beginning, as I've already said, I would not have expected to want to look at or follow a team from Florida from the things that I know. But if the Miami Marlins can do that by injecting a little bit of cash in, getting a few exciting players, I don't see any reason why Tampa Bay can't do the same thing. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, because Tampa Bay are the ones. Listen, you'll get people who are just like, we win against the odds. That's what I want to follow. This is my team. Fantastic. For me, maybe it's because I'm new. I just like the entertainment side of things. And Tampa, they're a team, and obviously I should mention the Super Bowl champions as well. We'll come on to them in a second. But Tampa are a team that I have more respect for and appreciate rather than enjoy. I enjoy the fact that they're there. I enjoy the fact that what they are doing is incredible. And I even appreciate it even more after this episode. But they're not the kind of team where, unless Glasnow's on the mound, I'm probably not going to watch the Tampa Bay game. That's the sad reality to it. And until they get away from that, I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy all these flashy players and have players with blue hair and, have a all singing, all dancing ballpark. But there's just something at Tampa where it's a little bit, for want of a better term, grey. It's fantastic to appreciate, but not really that great to watch.
Yeah, and losing Blake Snell,
who was my favorite player. So yeah.
I mean, and don't get me started about his pulling him in Game 6, because I could talk about that for a whole episode. But
well, we'll kind of come to that later as well.
Yeah, but losing him, I think, was a shot. If you're a fan of a team that just went to the World Series, and then arguably your best player is traded, it's a shot.
And obviously this kind of plays into the fact that they can't be a more exciting team in that way, because every time they get someone who you do enjoy watching, they're gone. As soon as their arbitration is up and they've proved themselves to the rest of the league, that's it. It must be so frustrating. And there's a real... I'm really worried about coming across as like really bad on the Rays. It's just as a new fan, but my admiration for them is through the roof. And I wish them all the best. And I love what they're doing. And I feel like it deserves to be rewarded, not just with a World Series, but with a full ballpark. But at the same time, I can understand why it isn't. So, yeah, and we can't not mention them. Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, Buccaneers, congratulations. Super Bowl champions. What a team they put together. It was being built for about 4 years. Not a lot of people seem to acknowledge this point. It wasn't just Brady went in and turned it all around. Yes, to some degree he did. Yes, he is a legend. But I think that would do a huge disservice to the project. I think he was the final piece to some degree. Him and I was going to say Whitworth then, but he's Rams, isn't he? I can't remember his name. The young kid who was the tackle who didn't allow any pressures on him in the Super Bowl and was just outstanding. And he was brilliant all year. That defense, for me, won the whole thing. And this isn't an NFL podcast, so I'll leave it there. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't not mention them, especially after not being the kindest to their baseball team. I wanted them to know that it wasn't anything personal, and fair play to them. So yeah, let's move on. Before merchandise and uniforms, and I can actually bring it back a little bit here because the 79 throwback, I think it was called. The hypothetical 79 throwback. I love that jersey. It looks so cool. Have you seen it?
I'm actually looking or Googling it right now.
Oh, it's outstanding. And I love the light blue of the current Rays jersey. I think it's an absolutely beautiful jersey. I wasn't a big fan of the Devil Rays logo much prefer just the Rays. I understand that a lot of people will gravitate towards the Devil Rays, especially if you've been a fan from back then and you've got all those memories. But I like the less is more crisp, the white, the blue. I like all of their uniforms, to be honest. I like the dark blue as well. I think it's a navy. You call it a navy blue.
Yeah.
And I like the Ray being on the side rather than on the front. But yeah, those 79 hypothetical throwbacks, they're cool jerseys, them. I like them a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now.
And the Players Weekend jersey as well. I like the way there's kind of we did the Boston Red Sox last week, and after we did it, they brought out their I don't know what they call it, the Metro jerseys, town jerseys, whatever. No, big no from me. Didn't like them at all. Didn't mind the area codes on the side. There was a couple of touches. I like the font of the Boston, but yeah, Boston Red Sox should not have a yellow and blue jersey. That's a no for me. I get why they do it. I get the kids and certain people who love it, but I'm very more traditionalist myself. And listen, it's fun. It's fun. If you want to go and buy it, I'm not going to have a go at you or anything. But when I saw it, I was like, that's sacrilege. Can't do that.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about what I saw. But again, they're just going to wear them once a year, is my understanding, for the Patriot Day game.
Yeah, and it's linked to the Boston Marathon as well, which is a really good thing. And, you know, I get it. There's just personally not for me. That's all I would say. What about, do you like their unis in general? Or
I love the Tampa Bay's current uniforms. I love their home uniforms. You know, just the classic white jerseys, solid white. Excuse me. I love the powder blues. I love the navy blues.
I think the powder blue is my favorite. But I really like the navy and the white as well, and the grey. I just think they're really good, less is more, crisp, clean jerseys.
Yeah, I would actually say, like, without ranking all 30, I would say right now the Rays have one of my top 10 favorite just all around jerseys in the bigs because of the powder. I love the powder blues. Any team that has powder blue in their jersey, I like. I mean, just the jerseys.
It just pops, doesn't it?
It does. Like the Brewers used to have them, the Cardinals, the Royals, but the Rays right now, I would consider one of my favorite jerseys. This hat I'm wearing right now, I love.
And I'm so glad as well that they've got like you know, the hat and the jersey, because we can show that it's nothing personal. I feel like we've been really down on them up to this point. Fair, but you know, I'm with you. I'd say early doors, but I'd say top 10 favorite for me.
Jersey?
Yeah, really like the jerseys. And yeah, so I don't think we really need to dwell on that too much. Food and drink. Yes, here's where JoBu, like, I can see him, he's almost salivating. He said to me, we were preparing for the podcast, and he went, I can't wait to talk about the food and drink.
So I should just start off by saying I've never been to Florida. I've never been to Tampa Bay, but in preparation for the show, I went right to the Rays official MLB website, and they have, I guess, there's a section called Tropicana Field Signature Eats, and the three items that they show are three of the most appealing things I've ever seen.
Nice.
I mean, and is it okay if I
indulge? Of course, yeah.
This is, I mean, so the first one I'm looking at is called a short rib grilled cheese. It's made with Budweiser braised short rib, cheddar, Swiss, Havarti, caramelized onions, and horseradish cream sauce on Texas toast.
Oh, I don't even know what Texas toast is, but I want it.
Texas toast is it's just like a toasted bread, basically, a little thicker. But
where I'm not even find this. I need to look at this and
I'm gonna actually, as soon as this episode posts, I'm posting pictures of all this stuff on our Twitter and our Facebook page, because this sandwich right now is the screensaver for my computer. That's lovely.
And just so you know, the Twitter page is at Screwball JoBu, and the Facebook page is the Screwball and JoBu show. So if you want to add us to all of them and see these delectable delights, I've just found them there, the concession guides. Oh my word, that looks like good food.
It's amazing. The second item, which I'm just as excited for, now I've seen this at other stadiums, but it's barbecue pulled pork nachos. Basically, it's just pulled pork nachos with cheese sauce, smoked pork, pickled jalapenos, cilantro, and sour cream. But again, the picture is just amazing. Like, I want to go to Tampa Bay like tonight.
I'm actually looking at them now. I can see them now. They're located at the Grand Slam Grill.
The Grand Slam Grill. And then the third item I'm looking at is actually my favorite sandwich. It's they call it the Tampa Bay Cuban sandwich. Roast pork, black forest ham, Swiss cheese served with a pickle spear.
What's a pickle spear?
It's like a half a pickle.
Okay.
So it's instead of a whole pickle, they kind of slice it in either like a half or a quarter. A lot of restaurants, like I live in Wisconsin, a lot of restaurants, to kind of garnish their sandwiches, they serve it with a pickle spear or some like kettle chips. So these three items, if Richie and I were at a Rays game tonight, I would very carefully schedule all three of I'd walk in, boom, give me that grilled cheese. Third inning, give me those nachos. Seventh inning, give me that Cuban, and then I'm taking the next day off.
Well, we were having a conversation about this as well, because I don't like jalapenos. So, and I apologize to...
actually quit the show over this, and then I came back.
Yeah, he did. He was like, no, we can't be friends anymore. But then I basically said, but they could cook mine without, and I could give you my jalapenos, in which case he came back.
Then I came back. So this is technically my second stint as co-host.
Season 2 for you. On episode 2.
Like, and I know you haven't seen WrestleMania yet, but it's like when someone drops the belt and then they win it back, 2 days later. It's like, all right, I'm off the show, but then when you get yours, all right, now I'm back on.
So this is you cashing in your money in the bank.
Yeah. This is my second reign as co-host.
I mean, I'm the sandwiches have got me. I'm not so sure about the horseradish cream, but I'm down to try it. I've never had it before, but I think all the ingredients together, I think I'd enjoy it. I really do. Cuban sandwich. The thing that stands out to me, the bread looks so amazing. It looks fantastic. They don't even mention the bread. They just say roast pork, black forest ham and all that. But if you go onto their website and look at the bread just looks... It looks soft but crisp at the same time. It looks crunchy. Yeah. It looks fantastic. And obviously the filling as well looks amazing. But yeah, listen, we're doing this, man. I'm gonna try and get to as many ballparks as I can, bucket list. So I think Florida's kind of one of the easier places for me to get to. So I mean, I'll have to keep my head down in Tampa, but hopefully I don't become famous and just get abused constantly. But yeah, no man, I'm there. I am there. Let's have a quick look at the beers, just see if anything stands out for me in the beer browser, as it's called. So you got Three Daughters Beach Blonde, Angry Orchard, Big Storm Bay Beer, Cigar City JLI. I've actually heard of Cigar City. They come very well recommended, so I think that's probably what I'd go with. How do they do Stella? Yeah, I wouldn't have a Stella. No, I wouldn't go all that way and then drink a Stella. That seems a bit pointless. Yingling, Shock Top, Kona Big Wave, Copper Tail, Green Bench. There's loads. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but yeah, I think food and drink. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Dietary restrictions. So this they've got vegetarian, vegan, where are we? And gluten-free. Don't see a kosher option. Interesting. Don't know if they have one or not. Can't say either way, but don't see one. So that they might lose a point for that. Because while I'm not a religious man myself, I feel like it's important to kind of cater to those who are. So kosher and halal will get points for me.
Yeah.
So that will bring us on to legends. Who do you think of when you think of legends for the Tampa Bay Rays?
So, again, this is a team that has, 20 plus years in the major leagues. I think this is year 24. But the immediate, I like to speak in terms of Mount Rushmore. So I like to think of like 4 players when I think of the Rays. And the first name that comes to mind is Evan Longoria. I played third base there for many, many years. I believe he's still in the league. I think he's still with the Giants, but I'm not 100% sure. I think of Carl Crawford, who played left field there for many years. I think of David Price, who's actually funny. He's actually a reliever for the Dodgers now, who beat the Rays in the World Series last year.
He sat out last year, didn't he?
Sat out last year, and then he actually recently donated his World Series ring.
Did he?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he donated it, and he every penny he got for it, he donated to the players. It's like an association for, I guess, like retired players or something.
Well, isn't that a fantastic thing to do? Hats off to David Price.
The other names, I mean, Wade Boggs actually got his 3,000th hit with Tampa.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned Wade Boggs, because I'm going to leave it till the end of the show. But one of the cards that I got from the Dugout Classics.
Oh, nice.
I got Wade Boggs. I was so happy, especially as a Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan. Getting a Wade Boggs card, that's the ultimate.
That's awesome. And then, they had Fred McGriff for a couple of years. He's a borderline Hall of Famer. His name's always brought up as, is he a Hall of Famer or not? I think he is.
Great nickname as well.
Yeah, the Crime Dog. The
Crime Dog, because McGriff was... It was called McGriff, the Crime Dog, wasn't it?
The actual character, it's a parody of McGruff.
McGruff, there you go. Yeah, no, I've never seen it, but I just knew that was what it was linked to. And for some reason, it's one of those things that I was aware of without actually seeing. Sometimes just popular references kind of show themselves, and that was one. So yeah, when I think of them, I'm very much the same as you. I think of Carl Crawford, my kind of favorite player, I would say, for them, because yourself, I'm a big Gold Glove guy. I'm all about the web gems, and Carl Crawford put in a lot from what I saw when I was doing the research. Longoria, yeah. I mean, goes without saying again, another Gold Glover. Kiermaier was an interesting one. I'd not heard of him before, but then when I saw some of the plays that he can make in the outfield, wow. The first time I actually heard of him was I have the MLB app. Not the MLB app, the MLB TV, where you pay for the subscription and that. Yeah. And there was a play that he made in centre field where he just seems to be running for an eternity, and dives out, stretches out to make the catch. And I was like, yes, I like him. I need to go and look for more of Kevin Kiermaier. and it did, and I liked what I saw. So yeah, they probably be the main three for me. I've heard of Julio Lugo before, but I couldn't really tell you that much about him. Carlos Pena, I've heard of again, and Ben Zobrist. I'd say they're probably the kind of the main contenders, along with David Price.
I think there's going to be a number of the current players like Kiermaier that could end up being legends, like Austin Meadows. I've been following his career since he was a Pirate. Rosarina, he's an older rookie. He's technically still a rookie because he didn't play enough in the regular season last year. He's 26 years old, but he could end up being an all-time great Ray as well.
Meadows was actually one of the players who's played really well from the games that I've seen. The fact that he's on less than $1 million, it's just ridiculous. No, Willie Adams, he looked quite good. Looked like there was one of the players who I like the look of, and he kind of had a mare in one of his games, was Ryan Yarbrough. He looked like he could, what I would have called an innings eater when I first saw him, and then he just got knocked all around the yard.
Yeah, I mean, I've got his lineup. He was 2-2 with, he's 0-1. His ERA is 5.06 right now. So yeah. Looks like
he got spanked basically. I saw him though, and I think it might have been spring training, and he kind of. I can't remember. Well, if he's 0-1, he's only played one game, and he so it must have been spring training when I saw him. But he looked like someone who you'd bring in like a middle reliever just to get a few outs. And I was a bit surprised because I thought he looked like kind of a safe player. But listen, it's the beginning of the season, everyone's finding their feet and all that. So I won't go off him just yet. Don't worry, Ryan, I've still got you back. But I think as well, for me, being a new fan, there's certain people you just kind of warm to, or their name stands out, or something about them, you see it, and then you go, okay. And because you don't know all of the players, you kind of focus in a little bit more on certain players. And it's not always the big names. It's like, obviously, Ryan Yarbrough's not a big name for Tampa Bay, but for some reason, he just stood out to me, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to see how you do. And yeah, not a great start, but I'll stick with him, and hopefully. I mean, I say I'm not going to be a Tampa Bay Rays fan. I don't know. I've gone back. You can back this up as well. So many things I've thought to myself, no, there's something I don't like about that. And then the next game, I see something and I go, oh, no, do you know what? I could watch that. That's different. I like the way they play. Or like the weird thing for the Marlins was, and I don't want to, that's the last time I mentioned the Marlins, but the weird thing for the Marlins was that the mariachi band, and I didn't think I'd like it. If you'd have said to me, like, oh, there's a mariachi band, I like mariachi bands, so, but I would have thought, baseball, it's not very traditional to do that. But I can't say I didn't like it. It really added a bit of flavor and a bit of atmosphere, and maybe it's the soccer fan in me, just the South American kind of, one of them. So I liked it. So yeah, I'm gonna not mention the Miami Marlins again if I can help it for the rest of the podcast, because I'll have like Rays fans trying to lynch me if we ever get to Tampa. So where does that bring us to? Media legends. Have you got any for us?
So again, because of the limited time frame that this team has been around, the two names that I think of, one is just a huge fan, but he's also in the media, Dick Vitale.
Yeah.
Maybe the biggest Tampa Bay Rays fan in the world. He's a season ticket holder.
Wow.
When he's not calling games, when he's not calling college basketball games, he's at Rays games. And then one of my favorite writers, Peter Gallenbach, is a big Rays fan. But their radio voice, Dwayne Statz, I believe has been with the team since 1998. And he used to work for the Cubs. He used to do radio for the Cubs. He'd actually, I think, worked some games with Harry Carey at some point. is the voice of the Rays. So those are kind of the three names that I think of when it comes to the media.
Well, just to prove that I do research, I asked the Tampa Bay Rays UK. They're an unofficial UK-based fans group, and they said Mark Topkin, sorry, who covers the Tampa Bay Rays for the Tampa Bay Times. In his own words, he's covered them forever. The Rays-coloured glasses was another one that they said to look out for. Matt Germain, who is a writer for Raise the Roof and co-host of a podcast called In the Tank.
Nice.
Who have we got? Oh, the actual Raise the Roof themselves, which is, as they say, the future of the fandom lives here. So I like the way they just claim that. And D-Rays Bay, which is an online community for fans, and tweets are from Brett or Brent. And apparently the better tweets and gifts come from Tom Hunt. I like the way they've done that. Yeah, so a few to look out for there. Again, if you have any questions about any of these and you want to follow them, go to Twitter at ScrewballJoBu, and I will happily put you in touch with any of them. Say in touch with, I'll put you in touch with the pages. I don't know them or anything. I'm not trying to piggyback on any of that. But yeah, from what I read, if I'll be honest, if there's one thing that really did stand out to me that I liked, I liked the coverage of the Rays. The games that I watched being called, I thought they gave a fair account. They weren't too biased, which I cannot say about the hockey commentary. One of the most biased that I've ever witnessed in my life. So yeah, hats off to the baseball crew there. Historical moments, 8th inning. Hey, we've flown through this.
Yeah, it's been a clean, crisp episode of Screwball and JoBu.
It's the Tampa Bay Rays uniform of episodes. Where are we? So, historical moments.
So,
I mean, for considering they've only been around for what, 20 odd years?
20. I think this is season 24.
I mean, they've got a lot to be cheering, especially as we've said, like they are the little engine that could, basically, the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I mean, so their first World Series appearance was in 2008, so that would have been year 11 of the franchise. They lost in 5 to Philadelphia. And then they were in last year's World Series in 2020. Now, I could also share this later if you wish for me to do this, Richie.
Yeah.
When I watched Game 4 of the 2020 series last year, it was the first non-Mets or non-Brewers moment that made me tear up in real time each time I've seen it since then. And it was the way the game ended. There was a base hit to right. The right fielder bobbled it, so it allowed for the winning run to come home. But then the base runner slipped, so they're like, "Oh, he's going to be out." But then the throw went past the catcher, and then he had to like crawl home. It was just amazing. Yeah. And I actually recorded my reaction to that in real time, thinking like something might happen here, and it did. So that is the first thing that I think of when I think of Tampa Bay Rays historical moments. Was last year's Game 4 was one of the craziest endings to any baseball game I've ever seen.
That is really good. I like that. There's a couple that I'm going off the Tampa Bay Times because that's what I've been reading and funnily enough, it's Mark Topkin. I didn't even notice that. I've read it. I enjoyed it. So yeah, when he says that he is kind of the man and he's been there forever, it would certainly seem like he has. We'll go to the back five and see, or top five and see what's. Do you know what? I'm going to go from top six because I'm not missing out on no hitter. So I haven't been on the wrong end of 4 no hitters at the time. The Rays finally got to do the celebrating with Matt Garza, blanking the Tigers, walking one in a 120 pitch gem. That was July 26th, 2010. Number 5, Scott Kazmier's first pitch strike was one of the few highlights in the 3-2 loss to Phillies in the World Series opener. But the reality was that there was a real live World Series game being played in St. Petersburg, Florida, and that alone was pretty amazing, which is a really nice sentiment. October 26, 2008.
Yep.
Milestone homer, Wade Boggs celebrates after hitting a home run off Cleveland Indians pitcher Chris Haney. You'll know
Sorry,
that.
This is the 3000th hit?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was Chris Haney, is it?
Yeah.
Pitcher. 3000th hit, Wade Boggs. So that was August 7, 1999. It sounds really weird when you say 1999 and stuff like that now because you've got so used to saying 2000, 2001. So when you say 1999, you go, and then you start thinking about how old you are as well. And yeah, that's a conversation for another podcast. The first pitch, 20 years of trying to get a team in Tampa and 3 years building the franchise under managing general partner Vince Naimoli.
I think it's Naimoli,
yeah. Culminated with a fastball from Wilson Alvarez to Detroit's Brian Hunter, low and inside. Who cared? The delight of a roaring sellout crowd at Stratford McKenna Field. That's a beautiful moment, and I think this is maybe where we aren't doing the team justice in terms of if you'd have been a fan for that time and desperately wanted the team, and you get it. It doesn't, you're not bothered if the ballpark looks a little bit dirty on the outside. You're not bothered. Like, you've got baseball. And that's a beautiful thing. So I hope people understand that. I can't feel that, but I can vicariously, if you like, live through that moment to some degree. And I appreciate it for what it is. And, you know, there's a lot of teams that a baseball team just kind of appeared. One day you were born and there was a baseball team for you to follow. So to all those Tampa Bay Rays fans who were out there fighting for a team and just hoping and praying, and that's a fantastic thing, and I really appreciate that as well. And again, it's this weird. I've got a real deep appreciation for the Tampa Bay Rays. A lot of what I'm looking for, they can provide. They play the game the right way. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. When you come back to the Tampa Bay, you don't even have to say anything else, and you know how important that is to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should stop looking for a bit of glitz to go with it and just appreciate it for what it is. I'll give the Tampa Bay Rays fans that promise. I will reconsider my position. Because I listen, Glasnow, really, really like him. Austin Meadows, as I say, Yara's someone who stood out to me. There's Tatsugo. There's players there that I've got a healthy interest in. Mike Zunino, I thought he stood out as a really nice catcher. Anyway, we've gone through all that. Diego Castillo was in my fantasy team as well, so.
And I don't know if we've mentioned this name yet, but the Rays also have the #1 prospect in all of baseball, Wander Franco.
Oh, I wanted to mention that actually. I watched a bit of tape on him. Oh my word. That guy is going to be frightening. So yeah.
It's a shortstop. He's going to be amazing. I think he's 20.
Do you know, and it's credit to the organization that I haven't even mentioned them yet, but Randy Arozarena, I mean, as someone who followed the Dodgers last year, if you've listened to the first podcast on that, you'll understand why I'm not a Dodgers fan at this particular moment. It's nothing against the Dodgers, by the way, but if you want to know why go back to the preface episode, listen. Yeah, Randy Arozarena, what he was doing bits last year. It's like every time he stepped up, it seemed like he was getting a hit or a home run or a stolen base, and he's making these web gems out in the field as well. It's exciting player to watch. And yeah, I really like them. I do like them. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't. And this is the problem I've got. I kind of like 29 out of 30 teams, and I'll let you, guess yourself which team it is that I'm 1,000,000% not going to be a fan of. But I even like things about their history as well. So yeah, it's very difficult, man. It's in a good way.
It's a fun problem to have.
It is. It's a really fun problem to have, and I'm really enjoying doing it. It is work in a way, this, but in the most fun way that you can think of. And if you're interested in it, then it's kind of not work. What did he say? If you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. That's kind of how I feel when I'm doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Game 162, Evan Longoria hits the Monday shot here around the world.
So I'm actually really glad you mentioned that, because I was in a hotel that night watching like 4 games at once. It was the only year that Major League Baseball ended on a Wednesday. And I used to be a trainer at a credit union. I was in Madison, Wisconsin, doing some training, and I was watching 3 games at once, and I had people texting me, and I was texting other people. That night was the greatest night ever in the history of regular season baseball.
Wow.
There's actually a documentary of that night that you can buy on Apple or iTunes it's just called Game 162. And it's about the 4 or 5 games that night that basically decided 2 divisions, 2 wild cards, just an amazing night of baseball.
I love it when things like that happen. I was watching, I've watched so many different little documentaries. They're not actually kind of official documentaries, if you like. They're more YouTube documentaries. There's a guy who does them for all sports, and I'd love to give him a shout out, but I can't remember his name. So on the next podcast, I will, because he deserves it. They did one for, and again, I can't remember the year, but it was a college football year, and everything just went mental. All the teams that you thought were going to be really good were just losing games to unranked teams, and it was just the craziest year in college football. And watching them put that together, that documentary, is amazing. So I definitely want to go and see that. So it's called Game 162.
Yes, it's I'm actually bringing it up right now, because as soon as iTunes made it available for purchase, I bought it like day of. Where is it? It's called, the name of the documentary, if you will, is just called Game 162. It's 45 minutes long. It's an official Major League Baseball production, and I've watched it a dozen times.
Okay, I like the look of that. And while I was doing that as well, I Googled the guy. He's on YouTube. He's called KTO. And if you go and watch the craziest college football season of all time, it's 22 and a half minutes. You will not regret if you're a sports fan. It's the 2007 season. I'm not even going to spoil it for anyone. And I know this isn't a football podcast, but sometimes there's just things in sports that are just too good. And if you're a sports fan, you need to go and watch them. So I'll be watching that game 162 and looking forward to that. So where is it? 12th inning home run, capping a wild comeback from a 7-0 deficit as the Rays not only won the game over the Yankees, but the American League wildcard playoff berth. Longoria joined Bobby Thompson of the 1951 Giants as the only player to hit a walk-off homer in the final regular season game to put his team in the playoffs. Is that the original shot here around the world that Bobby Thompson won?
Yeah, so in 1951, the Giants and Dodgers played a 3-game series to determine the National League champion, and they didn't have playoffs back then because this was before there were actual divisions. So the Giants and Dodgers finished with the exact same record. those 3 games they played were technically considered regular season games.
Okay.
So that home run that he hit in Game 3 is considered a regular season home run and put the Giants into the World Series against the Yankees.
Awesome. That is. Do you know what? I can't wait to watch it now. I love things like that. I love the way things that you think. I've stopped using the word impossible now because, I mean, unless it's literally impossible, then it's not impossible. So just don't use the word. I know Adidas had like an advertising slogan, didn't the impossible is nothing. But in sports, it kind of is because people use the word literally to describe situations that are anything but impossible. They're extremely improbable, but they're not impossible. And the beauty of sport is that every now and then something extremely improbable becomes reality. And when it does, regardless of what the sport is, it's just something to behold. It's something to enjoy for what it is. And you know, we've had moments like that across all the sports. And I don't know that many of baseball, so I cannot wait to watch. And the fact that the Tampa Bay Rays are the ones who are the pinnacle of this one could swing me. Because you've got to think to yourself, I'm judging the Rays on face value. And it's kind of not fair to do that. Because it's the substance. I'm here for the substance. I'm not here for the glitz and glamour. You know that. You've spoken to me. We've had conversations about this. You know the kind of fan that I am. So, but yeah, that brings us to number 1 moment. The ALCS clincher. David Price threw the pitch. Boston's Jed Lowry hit the ground ball. Akinori Iwamura made the pickup and raced to step on second base. And the Rays were going to the World Series. The improbable season, as radio broadcaster Dave Willis screamed, did indeed have another chapter. So yeah, I mean, I haven't viewed that either. So I think I'm gonna have a little YouTube session tonight. So what would you say about nicknames? Best nicknames for the Tampa Bay Rays? Because we didn't really get a chance to go through the Red Sox ones as I would have liked to. And the reason I put this on is because nobody really does nicknames like baseball.
Yeah. Well, we covered, I think, the best one or my favorite, the Crime Dog. And then when I think of nicknames, actually, too, the original team, and I think we kind of touched on this earlier, the original team name for the Tampa Bay Rays was the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. And then I don't even know what year it was, but there was kind of an outcry that it maybe wasn't the best marketing strategy to have the word devil in a lot of the things they were selling. So they became the Rays. But Fred McGriff, I always think of that as kind of the top nickname for a player that played with the Rays.
I mean, the people in New Jersey seem to be okay with their Devils. And I mean, loath as I am to mention them, Manchester United also called the Red Devils. So
yeah,
I feel like that was a bit of an exaggeration. But it is kind of down south. It's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I would have never even thought, because the Devil Rays a fish, so I never would have thought.
Yeah, there's no satanic link.
Yeah, it's not like their logo was like a trident.
Whereas the Devils, the New Jersey Devils, literally have a devil's tail. Anyway, nicknames, yeah. I couldn't find any. I genuinely couldn't find any. I did actually look this up. They don't seem to have them. I mean, they obviously do, but I can't find them. Are there any that, other than McGriff?
Honestly, not that I can think of. I mean,
it's really weird because usually when you type in nicknames and the name of the team, you get. I think the main reason is because the way Google is, because they rename the team. When you get nicknames, they just go to the big stories about that, and what you end up getting is the fact that they renamed the team, as you say, and also the weekend nicknames for trading cards and stuff, which brings us nicely. I mean, I'll say this before we go, but go on to the next part. If you can tell us some nicknames for Tampa Bay Ray players. I always second guess myself when I say Tampa Bay Rays. I don't know whether it's like, it's not alliteration, is it? But, you know, like the way it rolls off your tongue. Sometimes I just feel like I've said it wrong because you've got the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays, and it gets a bit confusing in there. Yeah, so if you can tell us some nicknames, Tampa Bay Rays players, then if you go to @Screwball JoBu on Twitter, and we will be delighted to hear from you. Right, onto the new section, which is baseball cards, somewhat inspired by Dugout Classics, who kindly sent me 6 packs of baseball cards. I only asked whether I could buy one baseball card and how much it would cost, and then maybe if I could get one for each team, how much that might cost me. And they really nicely just decided to send me 6 packs to get me on my way. So absolutely delighted at that. First packet, MLB Donruss 92. And it gave me an Ozzie Smith, a Jim Thome. Is it Jim Thome or Jim Thome? Tommy, I thought it was. And a Frank Thomas. So what are you thinking there, JoBu?
That's a pretty solid set right there, or pack, I should say.
The Wizard of Oz. I was well happy when I got him, because you know, for me, it's all about the outfielders. I'm all about the web gems. I like the pitches. I like the web gems. I'm more of a small ball guy, or baseball, as I like to call it. Pinnacle. I got a Mark Wallace and just this. It was a rookie card, and just this guy by the name of Roger Clements was sharing the card with him. Very happy with that one.
That's a keeper. I always got excited when I got my favorite players or favorite teams more than what I could get for it later.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, sentimentally, these are the first 6 packs that I ever got. They're the first baseball cards I ever got. So they mean everything to me. They're not for sale in any way, shape, or form, even if they were worth money. I mean, maybe if it was like a really big one that I managed to get and it paid for a trip for me to go to a ballpark, then I can kind of say, well, the sentiment means more to actually go and watch a game. But I can't see that happening anytime soon, so I won't have that dilemma. No, I was made up. Just obviously a rookie card as well makes it that little bit more special. Who else did we get? Let's have a look. We got a Leaf set 91, and this was another good pack. Got a Sammy Sosa.
Nice.
Ken Griffey Jr. And weirdly, a Harmon Killebrew puzzle piece. I don't know if you've come across these puzzle pieces.
So Leaf and Donruss were kind of sister companies in the 80s and 90s, and they were known for doing an annual puzzle each year. So that's kind of cool.
It's nice as well. It's a little bit different, and I can imagine if you were collecting just to put the kinds of jigsaw all together, have them all, that would be pretty cool. So yeah, Harmon Killebrew, I was quite happy with that. I believe, I haven't got it in front of me, but I believe he was the 5th highest home run hitter. That sounds about right.
I think at the time he retired.
Yeah, obviously at that time it would have been.
Now he's probably like 40th.
yeah. Well, the game kind of went in a different direction after that. Juiced balls as well. Juice players. we'll sidestep that for now. Fleer 92 pack. I got my first duplicate. I got another Frank Thomas. I feel like someone might be telling me to be a White Sox fan, the way things are going.
Yeah.
It seems to me baseball cards anyway. I'm gonna actually go and count them up and see, because like I say, 6 packs, it's a lot of cards. So I'm going to go and count them up when I get a chance and see who I got the most of from each team. Funnily enough, the cards that I'm enjoying the most at the moment are the Cleveland Indians cards. They just look really cool. And I think it might be because obviously as a kid growing up watching Major League, the film,
Sure.
you've got that kind of connection. So when you see that old Indians uniform and logo, it's pretty special. And I can understand, I mean, like, obviously not going to go into the political side of things of it, but I can understand why from both sides, you know, there's the emotional connection, and then I can understand obviously the let's say historical aspect. Let's put it that way, just to try and not go into it too much. Who else did we get? We had Frank Thomas, as I say. I believe this guy is now the manager of Team USA baseball, Mike Socia.
Yeah, he was just named a couple days ago, actually.
Yeah, so I've got his Dodgers card. And another guy who I know more from media than actually as a player, but Rick Sutcliffe.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be interesting to kind of see his career. There's a lot of people like on Baseball Tonight and in the booth and things like that who I don't know them yet. So I'm looking forward to putting the voice to the player, if you like. I'm kind of doing it backwards. It's one of the sort of nuances of being a new fan, finding out about the career of a player after it's happened, which I suppose all baseball fans do to some degree if they want to be like an aficionado, because you've got to know the history of the sport as well. But I think it adds a different dimension when they're up in the booth and you hear them talking and you go, oh, wonder what it was like in your day. I wonder how you played, what kind of player you were. So yeah, get to go back and do that. 2 more packs to go. There were loads of great cards. I'm just going with the biggest names, the ones that like I really recognize. So Fleer 90. I got a Jose Canseco.
Nice.
So I'm going to put Sosa and Canseco facing each other and just like bring that aspect to it. A little bit of it. Did they hate each other? I know there was a real rivalry in terms of that season where they both went for the home run champion.
So actually, in 98, it was McGuire and Sosa going for the home run.
Okay, got confused.
And they actually were very fond of each other.
Okay.
But Canseco,
McGuire was a Cardinal, wasn't he?
Yeah, McGuire was a Cardinal.
Sosa was Cubs. And obviously they have that rivalry as well, don't they?
Yeah. And then Canseco probably named Sosa in his book, and maybe that's could be thinking of that because he named a ton of people in his book that he said used when they were playing.
Yeah, probably just thinking of juiced up hitters, to be honest. A lot of them sort of go into one, if you like, when you're new to the sport. And the last one, bit of a weird one, bit of probably the most special card to me, other than the Clemens rookie card, because of the association with one of my favorite shows of all time, which is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Wade Boggs. I got the Wade Boggs card.
Nice.
So I was made up with that. So yeah, that's how I've done with my baseball cards. As I say, we'll look into that a little bit more as time goes by. Hopefully I'll get more of an understanding, find out. We might look at some more expensive cards on the horizon. Maybe increase the budget a little bit from just being passed free cards. Not that if anyone wants to pass me any more free cards, I'll turn them down. And massive thank you to Dugout Classics for doing that. You can check them out on Twitter. They don't just do cards, they also do jerseys. Yeah, so we'll leave the baseball cards there for now, but could be a nice little avenue for future podcasts. And another thing that I wanted to do was just do like this week in baseball, if you like, because we're doing a week between shows. So what was it that stood out to you this week in baseball?
So the two moments that were most memorable for me, number one was the way the Mets won their home opener, because my phone blew up all day. People wanted me to apologize for Michael Conforto getting hit by a pitch. Which
well, I'm gonna have to stop you there. He didn't get hit by a pitch. He leant into a pitch.
Well, yes, that is correct, and I haven't denied that. But the problem with the way Major League Baseball has that rule set up is that they can't review that.
Yep.
If the umpire calls it a hit batsman, all they can review is whether he got hit or not, not whether they would have interpreted it as a strike.
Right.
So, but people have this idea that Michael Conforto went into the at bat thinking, well, I'm just gonna like lean into one. I mean, 99 times out of 100, if a pitcher leans into it, the umpire is going to say, hey, come on there. So, I mean, this is a guy, I mean, he has struggled a little bit in 2021, but this is a good baseball player for the Mets who's done some big things. And in that situation, he does not want to win the game by getting hit by a pitch. And you have to remember, too, even though it was a breaking pitch, you have...
It does break into him. It does break into, to be fair, it does break into him. He doesn't have to lean a whole lot. He does cover the plate, and there is that angle of it, but it's not like it's going away from him and he chases it.
Sure, but I think people are upset at the fact that Michael Conforto didn't speak out and say, "Oh yeah, I leaned into that pitch. The at bat should continue." At the end of the day, players play and umpires make calls, and the call was wrong. But the Mets aren't going to just hand that victory back. That's a ridiculous notion. So,
to be honest with you, from my point of view, as someone new to the sport, and this might sound hypocritical because of the stance I've taken on the Astros, but I will explain why it isn't. I have no problem with it. I would rather it didn't happen, but as you said, it wasn't predetermined. He didn't go up thinking that if he did, he's an idiot. And I don't think he's an idiot. He made the most of a situation in a split second. Did he circumvent the sort of classic rules of the game? Yeah, he did. But that happens in baseball. Baseball is one of those sports where if you can, quote unquote, cheat within the field of play and get away with it, then it's kind of accepted. It's not like other sports. They're not as stringent. But the problem with it was it's the kind of cheating where baseball will police itself on this. And he must have known there would be repercussions for what he did after he did it. But I don't think at the time, as I say, I don't think it was premeditated. So I think people made a bit much of it. And for me personally, it's not the way I want to see the game played. It's not how I want a game to be won. It's not something that I would like to see again anytime soon or often. But I kind of think it's just one of them situations where if you can get away with it and you're prepared to take the repercussions, I'm really not that bothered about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, even the word that we're using, cheating, so like it's like what he did is not illegal. You can lean into a pitch. It's just they're supposed to call it.
Yeah, it's more baseball let itself down by not seeing it and not calling it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
'cause
do think in terms of it's tricky because I don't want the sport to just be constant replays. But I think
yeah.
in that situation, ninth inning, game determining, I feel like if everyone in the ballpark knows it, the umpire probably gets a sense that he's done the wrong thing. I feel like that information should be relayed and it should be able to be looked at, but only in that circumstance, only if it can completely define the game.
And
Determine the game, I should say, not define it.
one other thing that we have to consider too, because I was watching that game live. When it happens live, it's happening so fast. I initially thought he looked at strike three, and then when I saw the umpire motion that he was hit, I was just like, "Oh, hey, we won! We won the game." And it wasn't until they showed the replay we're like, "Oh yeah, he does kind of put that elbow out." But cheating would be like if, let's say, he patted his elbow to the point where his elbow was like sticking out 2 feet, and like that's what caused him to get hit. Like just putting the elbow out isn't cheating.
Yeah, it's semantics, isn't it? Really, I mean,
Well, it's I mean,
I get it, and as I say, I'm not really. When there's a grey area, I'm fine with it to some degree. It's a case by case basis, and like just to move off it. All I'd say is from the point of view where I'm saying I'm trying not to be a hypocrite.
yeah,
The Astros blatantly cheated, and they cheated outside of the field of play.
yeah,
That I can't stomach because you gaining an unfair advantage in a way that the game was never created for. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
If you could do it back in the 1800s and get away with it, and it was quote unquote cheating, but people did it, I'm kind of okay with it. As long as you're not hurting someone, I'm all right with it. But when you're using technology, it just sullies what is. I'm not going to say baseball is pure sport, and I kind of got called up on this the other day. I was saying the sanctity of the game, but I wasn't saying that other people haven't cheated. That's not what I mean by the sanctity of baseball. I mean there should be somewhat of a purity where it's a group of guys playing a game the old-fashioned way. And I get that like things change and all that, but not to the point where you're using Apple Watches, which we didn't speak about in the Red Sox show, which wasn't a conscious choice. We just didn't speak about it. But yeah, wasn't too pleased with that. And then obviously the Astros. And I'm trying not to really speak about them too much as well. But I will say it brings us nicely onto another thing, which was the A's finally beating the Astros. How many games was it? Wasn't it like they lost 7 straight or something today?
it was up there.
And I have a theory about this as well. I feel like people are giving the Astros a raison d'etre, if you like, by calling them cheats and banging trash cans and doing all this. I feel like that pumps up their players. It gives them an adrenaline rush. I feel like it creates a siege mentality. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the A's beat the Astros away from at the Astros home. I don't know what it's called, baseball stadium. Isn't it the dome or something, the Astrodome? Or
Well, where they play now is Minute Maid Park.
Minute Maid, that's it. Yeah, with the train and all that. Yeah, I feel like that played against them because I feel like that siege mentality and that previous sort of adrenaline they would have got from the crowd just screaming at them, "Oh, you cheats" and all that. It focuses you. Whereas when you've got your crowd expectant, it's almost like they forgot what that was like. Just a theory. But yeah, I was delighted to see them win.
It's going to be an interesting year seeing how these different cities react to the Astros because they didn't get a chance to do that last year.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go the way people think it's going to go for the reason that I've said there. I feel like it brings the team together, and I don't think it's going to be a positive. I don't think it's going to work the way people think it's going to. I can't see people like being. They're not going to be put off by it. It's going to make them focus even more, and they're going to be like a team on a mission. And you kind of giving them more credit by doing this, by keeping them relevant. I get why people are doing it, and I'm angry about it myself, but I do feel like it's backfiring in a way. So you said you had two anyway. What was the other moment for you?
Well, the other one for me was I was alerted on my phone when Musgrove was through 7 for his no hitter, and I watched it live. I actually went live on my baseball group to show people my live reaction to it, and it just those types of moments always get me because number one, it was the first no hitter in Padres history, and number two, it was his second start for that team that he grew up loving as a kid. So I just thought it was a great story.
Yeah, I watched it sort of. I turned over as I found out that it was happening, and all year it was, oh, what a great kid. It's you couldn't have asked for a nicer guy to do it and all that. So that was really nice, and as you say, being a local kid and to do it for the first time in Padres history, it was special. I'm glad I got to see it to some degree. That was the moment of the week, without doubt. The most controversial moment of the week wasn't even the Mets, because there's a bit of a grey area with the Mets. There's no grey area if you don't touch home plate. And you know exactly what I'm talking about now, don't you?
Yeah, so the Phillies and Braves Sunday night, there was a play at the plate on a sac fly, I believe, where Alec Boehm slid into home plate. He never touched home plate, but they called him safe. And yeah, it's pretty unanimous that they got that call wrong.
Yeah, I'll honestly, I was watching the game as it happened, and I was like, he didn't touch. I knew straight away he didn't touch. I was like, no, he hasn't touched it. And then I thought, oh, maybe he has. I'm kind of new to this, and I can't be like, oh, definitive. And obviously, there's replays and all that. And then I saw the replay. I was like, no, I was right. He definitely didn't touch. It was a bang bang play, and it kind of comes back to what we were saying before. But I would rather have mistakes like that in the game and still have the umpire make the call than to have video all the time. But in this case, when you've still got the video and you still get it wrong, that's inexcusable.
That's yeah. I mean, that's been my biggest point on instant replay since the start of it. If you're using the technology to correct the errors and you're 100% correct on the errors that you're correcting, then it's effective. But even if you have 5, 10, 15% where you're still getting it wrong, then it's a waste of time.
Mm.
Because then it's trivial as to what, if you say we're going to use instant replay and it's going to correct maybe 75%, then it's really not doing the service a game, because then it becomes trivial as to what gets overturned and what doesn't. So yeah. I hate replay. I think the only thing they should use it for is fair foul.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know though, because I have seen really bad decisions by umpires as well, especially when it comes to stealing bases. But again, they've got them wrong when they've had the replay anyway. So listen, I don't want to get bogged down in this. One of the reasons that I've fallen out of love with football, there's too much technology is being used, which again kind of fits into the idea why I hate the idea of technology being used to cheat. So it's not like I'm a hypocrite in any way, shape or form for that. My stance doesn't change. Do you know what I mean? It's not team by team. I had nothing against the Astros. I actually quite liked the Astros before this. And we'll do the Astros episodes, and I'm not even going to really talk about them cheating. I'm going to going to acknowledge the elephant in the room straight away, and then I'm going to talk about the good things in the Astros, because that's what this podcast is about. It's not about talking about all the bad, and I'm certainly not going to do that to Astros fans, because I think it's unfair to judge a whole fan base, and there's a lot of Astros fans out there that just don't deserve the kind of treatment that they're getting. They didn't cheat. Do you know what I mean? It was their team. Some of them do deserve it for the way they reacted to it, but again, that can wait for another time. There's only two other things I want to touch on, which is Shohei Ohtani is just a beast, and he is box office, and it could be that I end up being an Angels fan just because I can't part with the idea of missing a second of Shohei Ohtani. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but right now, and from the beginning of the season, I was excited to see him. He has lived up to the hype in every way, shape, and form. And the other team, like every now and then, a team that maybe I wouldn't have looked at, or wasn't looking at, but have sort of woken up and made something exciting. I've been really enjoying watching the Cleveland Indians this week.
Yeah.
I think if you look on the payroll, they're bottom. Obviously, lost Lindor to your Mets. Would have been easy to kind of feel sorry for themselves, go into the shell a little bit. Nope, not a bit of it. Neither the fans nor the players. And credit to them. And yeah, that I'm enjoying that series with the Royals. So I'd say that's pretty much it for now for that section, and we'll move on to the close.
Yeah, hold on to that Clemens card, because that's gonna. I mean, I know the industry has taken kind of a nosedive, but like that's got to be worth something if it's a rookie card.
Will it be because it's a 50-50 card and stuff like that? With it?
Yeah, but still, it's because it's his first. Is that a Topps or is that a?
It was a Pinnacle.
Yeah, it's still, even if it doesn't put the kids through college, the fact that it's a rookie card. I gave away a lot of my cards a while back, but I still have a binder. It's basically just all rookies and cards that hold sentimental value. And I still have probably 2 or 3 Clemens, 2 or 3 Gwynns, 3 or 4 Frank Thomas. So like definitely hold on to that one.
Cool. I mean, I'm not in it for any financial gain, but nice to know it's worth, or could potentially be worth something. I think I'm definitely going to get into baseball card collecting. I can't see any way that doesn't happen. I feel like Dugout Classics will play the blinder, sending me these cards because they've got a valued customer now. And I was thinking as well for the show, if I get one for each week and I can open them up and go through the players, and you can tell me, like, you know, whether they're good or not, because I appreciate having all of these cards, but you know what I mean, if they're desired, should we say. But yeah, I don't really know how to bring the show to a close, because we usually have a guest and we're saying thank you and all that. Obviously, thank you to yourself, but it's been a bit of a strange show this week. Probably partly to do with being a different show from last week, and partly to do with the fact that it feels like it's 100 degrees in my apartment right now. And probably with the fact that I'm not feeling too great.
I like the fact that we're giving the listener different flavors, because the first one we did was no team. Second one, we had a great guest. Today it was just you and I. So like, you don't know what to expect from the Screwball and JoBu.
I don't know what to expect from it. So how can the listener? I mean, there's going to be a lot of editing in this podcast, I feel, but maybe not. Who knows? Maybe we'll just leave it as live. But thank you to everyone who helped us put this together. Tampa Bay Rays UK, Dugout Classics. Thank you to all our previous guests. Our one previous guest and all our previous people who helped us there with the Red Sox. Next week's show, and this is the fun part, because I didn't mention it last week because we had to come to a hurried conclusion. And JoBu doesn't know. He's no idea who next week's goes. So I'll tell you what, you've got a 1 in 3 chance, haven't you? See if you can guess.
Are you asking me to guess?
Yeah. Well, you know it's not going to be the Red Sox or the Rays. You know it's going to be an AL East team.
I'm gonna say my guess is Baltimore.
Ooh, swing and a miss. Toronto Blue Jays.
Interesting. All right.
I'm looking forward to it as well for a couple of reasons. One, they are obviously the only team not in America in Major League Baseball, I believe. I am a Toronto Maple Leafs fan in hockey, so potential links. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see how interested people are, because obviously Canada is all hockey for the most obvious of reasons. That's their sport. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how much they've taken to baseball. I know that they're excited this year with the addition of Springer, especially, but they've obviously made some other good additions. So it'll be an exciting show, and I'll try and get us a guest. Apologies that I couldn't get us a guest for the Rays show, but as JoBu said, it adds a bit of a different flavour not having a guest. So either way, hopefully you're enjoying it, and thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll join us again next week for the Toronto Blue Jays show.